Hey everyone, joining me now this afternoon for a one-on-one interview is Alan Baratz. Alan is the CEO of D-Wave Quantum, the first commercial supplier of quantum computers. Alan, you and your company have certainly been in the news a lot as of late. We got a lot of great things to get to. But let's start with a bit of news this morning. You penned an open letter earlier today to the Wall Street Journal. Alan, what prompted the letter and what's the key message you wanted to communicate?
Well, first of all, JD, thanks for the opportunity to be here. I very much appreciate it. And yep, absolutely. We put a letter in the Wall Street Journal this morning, basically talking about what we call quantum realized. And what I mean by that is we are finally at the point where we are seeing real commercial value from quantum computers. Now, D-Wave, my company, is the only company that has actually realized quantum to date. But it's a starting point, and we're excited to be here. For us, quantum realized has three components. The first component is that you must have demonstrated the ability to solve a problem better than it can be solved classically. And we have demonstrated that problem. In fact, we've shown how we can solve a problem in minutes that frankly cannot be solved classically, full stop. Second, your systems must be performant, reliable, available. We have 99% uptime on our quantum systems, actually 99.9% uptime on our quantum systems, and we have service level agreements because we stand behind that commitment. And finally, you must have applications that customers are using in production or that they're developing to move into production. So as a part of their business operations, and we have customers that are doing that today. That's quantum realized. We're delivering on all three of those points, and we're excited to be here.
Alan, I hope you don't mind this next question. I don't know if you're a fan of Reddit, but my favorite subreddit is called Explain Like I'm 5. I hear from a lot of viewers out there to say, hey, I hear all these splashy headlines about quantum. I'm having a hard time understanding really what this means. Can you kind of help explain, as if I were a 5-year-old, a little bit more, the key differences between quantum and classical, and really the main thing for investors to know who have followed closely with the movement of your own stock price?
Yep. So quantum computing is simply using quantum mechanical effects, things like superposition, tunneling, entanglement, the spooky properties, to be able to solve hard computational problems faster than they can be solved classically. That's all there is to it. And ideally, you actually can solve problems that cannot be solved classically. And that's one of the things that we've been able to demonstrate.
So, of course, this is a big one, and I know you've sounded off about this. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang recently said getting, as he calls it, very useful quantum computers to market could take decades. Alan, maybe 15 to 30 years, he said. You've disputed that very publicly. Talk to me a bit more about that disconnect. And I wonder, why do you feel Jensen Huang felt the need to even make those comments at CES a few weeks ago?
Now, well, first of all, that's very easy for me to not only dispute, but to disprove. You're right. Jensen said, you will not see a quantum computer doing anything useful for 15 to 30 years. But we are doing useful computations on our quantum computers today. So we have companies like NTT Docomo that's using our quantum computer as a part of their business operations today. Panasonic Group using our quantum computers as a part of their business operations today. Ford Otosan, Interpublic Group, working on applications that they expect to be using in the near future. So when you've got useful work being done on a quantum computer today, it's hard to say that you're not going to see it for 15 to 30 years. Now, as to why Jensen made those comments, I can't imagine what he was thinking. He may not have understood that there are different approaches to quantum computing, and some are much further along than others, like our approach. And maybe he was just thinking about the approaches that aren't going to mature for quite a few years from now. But to lump everything together and say you won't see useful work for years is just flat out wrong.
You have publicly offered to meet with Jensen Huang. I wonder if he's yet taken you up on that offer. Any communication with Nvidia?
Well, I was invited to participate in one of their quantum panels at their GTC conference on March 20th, and I am looking forward to that.
The Quantum Day event was shortly announced after all this first happened a few weeks ago by Nvidia. Around the same time, Microsoft put out their announcement saying this year, 2025, is the year to be quantum ready. How do you view the relationship between D-Wave and some of those tech giants in the space?
Well, everybody in the quantum industry, other than D-Wave, is pursuing an approach to quantum that is going to take a number of years to mature. We're the only company in the world that has taken an approach that has allowed us to become commercial quickly and today. So I think the work that they're doing is all good work. It is all important work, but it's all work on quantum systems that are going to take many years to mature. Moreover, when those systems do mature, they still will not be able to solve the types of problems that we are solving today. So we are very good at solving problems known as business optimization problems. These are things like employee scheduling or last mile routing or cargo container loading. Frankly, most of the important hard problems that businesses need to solve, all our optimization problems, our quantum computers are very good at solving those problems. The approach that everybody else has taken, that it will take quite some time to mature, even when they get there, those computers still will not be good at solving optimization problems. So our approach to quantum is important not just today, but into the future.
MasterCard, if I'm not mistaken, MasterCard is one of the really big kind of household names that you have a partnership with or using quantum computers. Help us better understand how a company that many of us use and are familiar with in our day-to-day lives are using quantum computing right now, Alan.
So yes, we have a relationship with MasterCard. We are working with them on optimizing customer loyalty rewards programs. This is another optimization problem. So the idea is that you want to decide which cardholders to offer various incentive programs to maximize the uptake. That turns out to be a hard computational problem. And so we are working with MasterCard on how to use our quantum computers to be able to maximize the uptake on those rewards programs.
Alan, as you and I are having this conversation, the markets have been selling off, not just on Friday's session, but today on this Monday, obviously, we're kind of caught once again the tariff crosshairs between the Trump administration and a few other key trading partners. Does D-Wave suffer with new global tariffs, and if so, how?
The short answer to that question is no. We are a U.S. company, but we do have operations around the world. We do R&D in the U.S. We also do it in Canada. However, we serve U.S. customers from systems located entirely in the U.S.
The issue of encryption is really interesting to me. Quantum proof or post-quantum world, what it means for encrypted messages, the safety and security of knowing if you use a platform like WhatsApp, you can text your loved ones in a safe and secure way. How will quantum technologies change the overall space of encryption, and how are you kind of prepared for a lot of those changes, Alan, that more than a few people out there are starting to raise some red flags about?
Yeah. So first of all, it will be many, many, many years before quantum systems can break our current cryptographic systems. Basically, the application that does get a lot of people excited about quantum is breaking RSA, public key cryptography. However, you need many more qubits before we'll be able to do that. And those qubits need to be error corrected. And we are talking about probably 20 to 25 years before we do see systems at the scale and with the error correction required to be able to attack cryptography. Now, that having been said, encrypted data does live for many, many, many years. And as a result, it's not too soon to start thinking about looking at and potentially putting in place quantum safe cryptographic systems.
Are those things you and D-Wave are working on, you're planning out, or at least you're kind of baking into your forward-thinking projections?
So obviously for our own internal use, absolutely yes. We are not in the business of bringing quantum safe cryptographic solutions to the market. In fact, most quantum companies are not, in the sense that these tend to be classical encryption systems, but they're classical that are safe against quantum attacks.
How do you see this technology being used for things like healthcare, automobiles, and I wonder more broadly, Alan, what most excites you about the direction you think the space is heading into?
Yeah, I think that there are two classes of problems that quantum can address. There's what I'll call evolutionary problems. These are problems that we are solving today. Things like workforce scheduling or automotive manufacturing optimization. It's just that quantum computers can solve them better and faster than they're being solved today. Then there are revolutionary applications. These are applications that aren't being addressed today because they are well beyond the capabilities of classical computers. These are things like global weather modeling for disaster prediction, or things like designer drugs, or the ability to create a drug for just you and your set of ailments, or for everlasting batteries. These will also be enabled by quantum, but it'll take a little bit of time before we have quantum systems that are capable of addressing those application areas.
Alan, I have to ask, we're going to get Google or Alphabet's earnings tomorrow. Obviously, it was the big news back a couple months ago with their Willow. That did, monstrous things for your own stock. I have to ask, to what degree will you be very closely listening into what Google has to say, especially for quantum computing type developments in the name of Willow?
Now, look, I care about what all companies have to say about quantum. I'm constantly, trying to understand exactly what the state of the art is on all R&D developments across the entire quantum industry. The Willow announcement was a good announcement. This was a good next step for error correction on quantum computers that are mostly being pursued throughout the industry, and that was an important step, but there's still a long ways to go.
Q3 finally for your company. Revenue, as I know you've been asked about, you decreased over 25% year over year to 1.9 million. Can you give us any sense of what's under the hood for the current quarter?
Well, we actually did put out an announcement that bookings for full fiscal year 24 will be over 23 million, which is 120% increase over fiscal year 23. So from 23 to 24, 120% increase from 23 million in bookings. So, obviously that reflects a good Q4, and we're looking forward to our earnings announcement.
It's a fascinating time to have this type of conversation, to be in your position, and I'm sure we'll continue to have this conversation about the work at D-Wave. And Alan, I hope you'll continue to come back and talk with our viewers. There's a lot of interest about all the moving pieces of the rapidly moving technologies. That's Alan Baratz, the CEO of D-Wave Quantum, the first commercial supplier of quantum computers. Alan, thanks a lot.
Thank you. My pleasure.